Subscribe and follow just for some light reflection. Hello, Anne Spencer here, and welcome to In Hindsight, all relative to a healthy living, a little bit of light reflection. Yeah, for a little bit of a laugh. Emotional first aid. How does that sound? Sounds quite good, that actually, doesn't it? And today I want to talk about rejection. Yeah, dealing with rejection. And that's what's important, how you deal with it, because we're all going to be rejected at some point. And it's better to understand why rejection hurts, and it does. But while trying to understand why, suddenly, just out the blue, you manage to rationalise it so much better. Well, at least that's my conclusion in hindsight, may I say. So let's get down, because it's all down to practicing self-care. Yeah, like I've said before on so many occasions, that inner chatter takes over. You know the one that says, I'm not good enough, I knew this would happen to me. What if I don't get the job next year? What if? As my fabulous father would have said, if Bob wasn't your uncle, he'd be your auntie. That's what with a big if. Thank you, Dad. That was very useful information, and it was. But there is a healthy way to deal with that feeling of being rejected, if you even want to call it that, darlings. And we really have to do this because, let's face it, you can't go through your whole life without being rejected in some way, or at least, if that's how it feels, of course, in love. Oh yeah, I mean, all those love interests. Perhaps I remember looking across a room wondering why that person just would not look at me. God, brings up old memories up. But even a job interview or an audition you might have had, even a group of people that somehow just don't want you part of that group, or that's the feeling you've got. Damn them, damn. Whatever it is, the fact is rejection does hurt. I mean, I know, I've put it all out there before, going for an interview and more recently auditions for when I wanted to start to do my drama course. And you put it all on the line, really, don't you? And you only to get someone to say, no, sorry, you can't come in, this isn't for you. Oh my God, maybe they might not say that, but that is actually what you're hearing, isn't it? And it's just enough to make you want to stop trying. That's the problem. And even to put yourself kind of withdraw a bit, from anything else. If you allow it to chew you up, you would stop doing anything else. But hopefully that should be only temporary. But if you do let it hold you back for longer than this, then it will wreak havoc on everything you do in all parts of your life. There's no doubt about it. Anxiety, depression, to name but two, which is, attacking a lot of people now. And it's not an unusual thing to have, but it's handling it. And if you allow yourself to believe it's bigger than just the thing that's happened to you, then you will prolong the suffering of rejection. But there's good news. There's good news. Through handling it the right way, you can come out of it not depressed, not feeling greatly rejected anymore, but you will have become much more resilient, much more resilient. Don't let this crush you, guys. You just can't let it. It doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all. That's just it. Because that rejection is no way bigger than you are and what you are able to do. You do have to understand, firstly, why rejection hurts you so much. Yeah, that is what you have to do. And how to deal with that rejection in a healthy way, according to psychologists, will build your resilience. Yes, it will. I mean, I've done my research, I've listened, I've learned, and I've done it all. And now to say to you, quite simply, your career path is not a straight line. Yeah. It can hurt. It's not because you're too sensitive or weak, darlings. No, if it ain't that, darling, it ain't. Not at all. As usual, it's all evolutionary. Why many of us need other people to accept us. It's just one of those things. It's all very primal and the survival thing and all that. I was reading a book, yes, another book. That's what I do. But it's a good book. It's all about when humans relied on being in groups to survive. Cutting it short. And it's no wonder we feel the fear when rejection, because if you think about it, in hindsight, well, if you're left out there in the way we once lived, we would be realistically We would be left out in a limb to be eaten by lions, tigers and bears, or dinosaurs, whatever it might be. So you'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to die. So at that point in time, it's not even to do with our self-care, self-worth or anything. We have instinctively this kind of feed of, my God, I've been fed to the lions. I'm just saying, it's worth knowing that. It's worth knowing that that's really not what's going to happen to you once you've been rejected from an interview or what have you. Or if that guy's just chucked you. And mind you, you might have chucked him. Well, tell him, just get over yourself. You'll be all right. Once I leave you, you'll find somebody else. Do you know what I'm saying? It's no wonder then that some of us have a hard time with rejection. That's what I mean. So, what do? Take a step back in the aftermath of the rejection. Where the anger or the hurt or both will probably be your immediate reaction après rejection. And to be honest, punching a beanbag, hopefully, and screaming and all that to release anger. They say, release your anger through all that. But it just increases the whole situation. It doesn't release anger. Don't get in the rut of emotional thinking. That's all I'm saying. All too often, I'm still learning. In fact, I do all that very often. God, I'm just saying that, my emotions may never be right or wrong, but they are there. That is the problem. It's not a problem unless you make it one. There you go. Mind you, to digress, they do say RSD is a thing. What is that? RSD. Rejection, sadness, dysphoria. I don't really know if that actually exists, but there you go. Someone mentioned it. But obviously, it's different and it can be overwhelming for each of us in different ways. And just to add, just don't forget and remember, do not validate yourself by external forces. I've always said that. Yeah. It's instead your internal ones, right? It's internal. Think about it. We must learn healthy self-esteem. I think it's a good idea as well, after you've taken some time to calm down and really get yourself grounded again. It's important to pay attention to what you're feeling, yes, and maybe write some of those things down. You're with your family. You've not changed as far as your friends and family are concerned. You're still wonderful. You're still out there doing the thing. And the fact that you're fighting through difficult circumstances, if it was really easy, there would be no reward, would there? Easier said than done, I know. But in terms of thinking that you've failed, you haven't. You're just on that little path that shoots in and out, isn't it? And then pair those thoughts that you're going through with the emotions that you have day to day as you slowly come down from that sort of little disappointment. We'll say it's little. Because at the end of the day, it becomes little, doesn't it? You look back and you go, I remember before I managed to get in here, I did it twice, I didn't get in. 10 years ago, I was so disappointed. And now look at me, it's the history thing, isn't it? It's the mind, it's hindsight. And just by doing that, you're getting some distance, if you like, between, or you can cope with the rejection better because you're not just all tangled up in it, basically. And whenever you are paying attention to those emotions, palpitations, remember, it's never helpful to or good to feel like you shouldn't feel a certain way. You should be feeling that way because disappointment does things to us because it's a learning process and it's a feeling of being able to handle it, move on and go forward. Your emotions are never right or wrong, like I said. Certainly that's the way I look at it. They just are there. Mine are all there, I'll tell you that. On and off. And see when there's a nice one filtering in there, God, I feel good. Do you know what I mean? Dare I say profoundly, because I love profound things. I read books and somebody says something or writes it down. I'm like, that's bloody amazing, mate. But talking to yourself, well, I talk to myself. In lockdown, I've been talking and answering. They used to say if you answer yourself back, you're going mad. But I don't know about that now. I really don't. But it doesn't mean, well, you should talk to yourself, but it doesn't mean just that when you're trying to sort of create a good good self-affirmations, if you like, but thinking about what makes you actually you, you know. That's quite hard to do because we all break into certain ways with certain people, do we not? Just in ways of communication initially. I mean, we can't all tell complete truth, can we? I mean, have you seen that with Ricky Gervais? What is it? In The Invention of Lies or something? Makes you think though, doesn't it? There's certain things that it's just out of respect that we say and do and be. But when it comes down to ourselves, we really need to learn the truth about ourselves, or we might be confused. We don't want to be ending our life thinking, I never actually was what I felt. Yeah, something to think about anyway. But you will, with certain affirmations, seriously though, I'm always being serious, you will feel stronger just by acknowledging or recognising who you really are. I mean, who we are, who are you, how can you identify yourself? But it's true, and as much as that's, many would say airy-fairy, it flippin' isn't when you get down to it. It flippin' isn't, and it can especially open yourself up to why you're feeling anxious or upset in any level, you know, and maybe that's why we have so much anxiety, because we're not really identifying ourselves, especially in the face of self-doubt, and which often comes with rejection. Bottom line, there's always a bottom line, always a bottom line. But like I said earlier, there is, you know, when you're faced with rejection of any type, doesn't matter what it is, one of the most important things to remember is that there's more to life than just that one rejection from that one person or thing that's happened, and that there are plenty of other people out there on your side. You know, you've got to remind yourself of that, because suddenly that escapes you. You're like out there lonely as a tree. You're out there and nobody's talking to you. It's like suddenly you can visualise yourself standing there and the world in your peripheral vision is just buzzing around. It's not really like that, is it? For some reason, you've entered into that strange mind. But to remind yourself, no, you're not. You're not completely shunned by the world. You spend some quality time with those friends and your family. You know, they'll talk to you. They'll say, it's all right, man. It's all right. That wasn't for you anyway. Or actually, it is for you, but it's not the right time. Move on. But that is connecting with those other people around you, you know, instead of alienating yourself and chatterboxing yourself into, I'm all alone and life is gone, it's ruined me. I have been there, which is why I have just performed that whole rejection from a crush feeling that I had. I'm sure I have done that. So, bottom line, connection is so important because it reminds us, darling, of all the things that we couldn't remember at that point in time, in that moment. It reminds us of how lovable we are, that people care about us, and we are bloody worthy. Just had to say it like that. I mean it. I mean it. You know, sometimes, well, obviously we couldn't be overthink things, but even just to think away from when that actually happens to you, that even if you can't just go and meet someone or be with your family, try and just sort of enter somebody important into your mind and think of them, you know. Sometimes good to carry a photograph around of somebody special, you know. Doesn't have to be anyone that you know, I don't know, boyfriend, husband or anything, just someone that you've, you know, a photograph of a nice memory of people who you know or have known, that it was a good time in your life. To look at that, these things matter. They still matter in your life, and you can kind of carry that in your heart more strongly if you're looking at it on a regular basis. So when a difficult situation comes up, for example, and you do feel rejected, you can go back to that image that in that photo, you will feel comforted by them, because in a sense you've been practicing the feeling of being comforted. So that feeling is there to be connected to. That feeling is there for you to take the choice to feel it. And we tend to beat ourselves up about things or over things that might have led us to be rejected, you know, in a constant in a constant loop of feeling, oh, I need to feel this again. But that's just a habit, and inevitably causes us to feel worse. So the first thing a lot of people do when they get rejected is automatically, I know I do, to just be unkind to yourself. Weird, isn't it? Really weird. And they start coming, and I do. I start coming up with all kinds of idea that what's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Oh God, maybe there is something wrong with me. I need to look for it. What is it? Instead of constantly thinking about what might have gone wrong or dwelling on those negative things. I think they call that rumination, isn't it? Rumination. But looking at the situation more objectively and asking yourself, is there anything you can learn apart from resilience? And doing so with more compassion for yourself. Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I'm starting to do, you know. So basically you're engaging in early healthy habits. The earlier, the better. Oops, that was my dog. I just had to cut there. I had to cut and redo this. Anyway, sorry about that. Down boy. There's one thing that you can do, and I do actually, to cope better is work on leading a healthier lifestyle. It's not about dieting. It's not about running around the block for a couple of days. It's everything in moderation, you know. That means eating well as well. So exercising as frequently as you can, but don't overdo it. And staying hydrated. All of this can help you stay strong in the face of rejection, because it's a work. Your whole being is a work in progress. And within all the other episodes that I've talked about different subjects on how to stay healthy mentally, physically, the healthier your lifestyle, the more resources you will have then to deal with difficult situations. That's imperative. And you know, it's not all about just so that you can keep a good weight and your body's healthy. And it does, we know. There's a mind and body coherence, and you know your mind will stay much healthier and rationalise much better in the face of, dare I say, adversity or difficult situations. That's just the way it is. And there's nothing, and it's so true. And that's probably why I do these episodes, because I feel the difference myself. I know how difficult things can be, and they can. Let's not forget a sense of humour. You know, hold that down. Please hold that down. But having said that, with the woke society and various other things, we've really got to, we're really destroying our humour a little bit. But, you know, just added that. In other words, do not let rejection stop you. If there's one important skill to learn from rejection, I've said that so often, it's that you should never let it stop you from your future endeavours. Right? Bottom line again. Getting rejected is just an inevitable part of life. You know, every single successful person has experienced it at one time or another. And yes, even people like, dare I say, J.K. Rowling, or Oprah Winfrey. I mean, she's probably having a little bit of a difficult time just now, backtracking on various interviews that she's had. Dare I say. But, you know, it's a little bit of controversy there. And I best not give too much of an opinion. But I just want to end it on this note. The next time that you're turned down for, if it's a date, you know, or you don't get the job or the audition you applied to, remind yourself that this kind of thing, rejection, happens to everyone. And instead of allowing yourself to be devastated and beat yourself down, ask yourself what you can do going forward. That's it. Now, what can I do going forward? Embrace the situation. The most important thing is not to sit in the rejection, but to say, is there anything I can learn from this? And then what can I do? Where can I go? Nice. That's nice. So I will end it there on that little series on rejection. Hopefully now you're looking at rejection, think, can't wait till I'm rejected so I can see how I can handle it. How can I handle it? Can you handle it? Can you handle it? Anyway, so please follow me if you can. Like, subscribe and all the jazz. And I'll be back as soon as I can. with the next series of In Hindsight. Bye guys, thanks for listening. Have a laugh. Have a laugh. No one, you are stronger than rejection. Bye for now.